to your Verbal Ability class assignment 4. Now in today's class particularly we are going to focus on our reading comprehension and the tones and summaries of various passages. Now the ones who are planning to prepare for the exam CLAT, this class is extremely essential for all of you because the pattern of your CLAT exam has changed, and this time all your questions will be in the form of comprehension passages that involves a lot of reading. Now, what exactly do you mean by the tones of a passage? So, the tone of a passage tells us the attitude of the author towards his own work. So, basically, every text has a central idea, and how that theme or that idea is being approached is called the tone. So, basically, you could also say that tone decides how you should feel when you're reading that particular paragraph or that particular text. So examples of the various tones could be sarcastic, cynical. In the next few slides, we will be discussing approximately 38 different tones, so you will understand it in a better way. Now, in order to identify the tone, you should pick up clues from the text. So basically, you should try to understand what exactly is the author's opinion. But if the author is quoting someone else, make sure that you do not take that as a proof for the tone, because that would be someone else's views and not exactly that of the author's. So we'll just discuss the various tones now. The first is acerbic. Now acerbic is anything which is extremely harsh, severe or bitter. It may be irrational in nature. So basically, Acerbic reveals the author's agreement with a theory that expresses his disdain towards a person, a concept, or an ideology. Now, basically, you are trying to say that the author is being extremely harsh about one particular concept or a group or few people or one particular person. However, he is not giving you any facts or figures as to why he is being so harsh. So that is why this tone is in use when the author himself is being very irrational and he is not justifying why exactly he is being so rude or bitter towards something. Next is aggressive. So forceful or tending towards unprovoked offensiveness. So basically you can say that when the author is shown to be very angry, but you realize that he is being angry without any proper justification, and in a way he is trying to take offense about almost everything. In fact, it may lead to an extent where he is even forcing the readers to be offensive or to get angry reading the text. Let us move on the third one. So the third is angry or indignant. Now this shows anger in a justified way. He also may use various facts and figures to show why exactly the author is angry about something. Now when we were talking about the first tone, acerbic, we were saying that he is being irrational because he was not justifying why he is being so harsh and bitter. However, when the tone is angry or that of indignant, then he is justifying his case. He is trying to explain it to the reader that the author himself is angry because of certain reasons, and he will very clearly mention those reasons with justified facts and figures, probably taking examples. And therefore, he is very rational in nature. The next one, apathetic. Now, pathetic, as we have discussed earlier, is basically when it evokes your feelings, particularly of pity. So, apathetic is when the author himself is extremely emotionless or he is not interested in anything. You could also say that he is very indifferent. He is not taking sides for any particular topic. Neither he is trying to explain something. All right. So he'll be very plain and simple without showing any kind of emotions. That is extremely indifferent. Apologetic. So expressing remorse, regret, or sorrow. Now, basically, whenever there's a passage, say about natural disaster or any kind of riots, in that case, he could use the tone of being apologetic because he's trying to show that he is feeling extremely sorry. He is being very sad about the events that have taken place that could be of past. Next, belligerent or bellicose. Now that is being aggressively hostile. So imagine two different people or two different parties continuously warring against each other. So that is bellicose. Now this particular tone is very rare from your exam point of view. However, if there is a chance, then it is very, very less. So I don't think you will actually get a tone or a passage that is has the tone of bellicose or belligerent, because again it is very violent in nature, you could say. So moving on to the next one. Bias. Now this is one word that we have seen and used very frequently. So favoring one thing or person or group over another for personal reasons. So you could say that the author mentions two stands and he'll take one particular stand, but he might not even give you very rational reasons for taking that stand. So that is when he is being biased. Next one, caustic. So caustic is harsh or severe. It is basically synonymous to acerbic. So there is no possibility that you will get a passage and you have to identify the tone and two different options of acerbic or caustic will be given. Either of the two will be given to you. So if it's not acerbic, it is caustic. If it's if it's not caustic, then it will be acerbic. So this is exactly what acerbic was. Next, commiserating. Now, commiserating is when you're expressing pity or empathy. So basically, you could say that the author is expressing pity for people suffering from prejudiced practices or cultural norms. So in India, we see if any particular case happens, we start targeting most of the times the Muslim community. So if there is a paragraph, something like that, then probably the author is being commiserating about it. He is trying to show his empathy or pity towards that one particular community who has been prejudiced by the practices of the entire nation or the entire group as a whole. Next, condescending. So patronizing, implying patronizing descent from dignity or superiority. Now it basically implies an attitude of patronizing superiority of a particular thing, person or group. So basically you are saying that one particular community is superior. Next, contemptuous, expressing contempt or disdain. So treating the subject in a scornful and a ridiculous way. So whenever you are talking about something that you do not like, but you are talking about it in a way that you are ridiculing it, in that case the tone will be contemptuous. Next, cynical. Now this is one important tone. Believing that people are motivated purely by self-interest. So passages written in cynical tone reveal author's view of society being driven purely by self-interest, which means that if the author is saying that everything that every single person does is because he has some selfish reason behind it, then that is something which is extremely cynical in nature. Derisive or disparaging. So that is when you are belittling someone. This is pretty easy, so I'm moving forward. Dogmatic. Now, asserting opinions in an arrogant manner. So basically you could say that the author is being over-assertive about his point of view. So basically we are trying to say that author is expressing his own opinion, but he is doing that in a very arrogant manner as if no one else is correct about it and he himself knows everything. Next, emotional. Now, emotional theme says that you are easily affected by feelings that are actuated by experiencing love, hate, fear, or any other emotion for that matter. Now, this particular theme is also very rare and it might not even appear in your exams. Next, ethical, dealing with principles of morality and honesty. I don't think I really have to explain this when obviously the author is saying that this is right and this should not be done, something like that, then that is being ethical. So, for example, if there's a passage, say, on the lockdown during the COVID-19 crisis, then probably, our ethics and morals say that if there is a lockdown, we should stay at our home and we should follow the rules of social distancing. So, if he is emphasizing that entire concept, then he is being ethical about it. If he says that people should follow it, that means he wants the people to follow their ethics and morals. So that could be an example of an ethical tone. Next, euphemistic. So using mild or indirect expression for one's thought. Now you could say the author is not being very harsh directly. He is explaining his point, but in a very mild or indirect way. Next, grandiose. Now, grandiose is something that is very pompous. You could say that passages appear more elaborative than necessary, and such passages would be usually very abstract in nature. Next, humanistic. Now, it shows keen interest in human affairs. So something, if they're talking about the general welfare of people, then that is humanistic. They will not be talking about anything in particular, whether it's right or not. Just plain simple language that shows the generic information on, they're just generally talking about the welfare of humanity, and there is no stress on any particular steps that should be taken. Next, humorous, funny and amusing. So basically, when you're talking about something in a very light-hearted, straightforward manner, then you're being humorous about it. So say, for example, if I quote or you read a narrative that is in a passage that says about the experience of the author when the first time he acted in a play, and while acting he did not realize that the stage was ending and he fell down. So he is narrating a particular incident from his life in a very humorous way. He does not want you to feel pity or any kind of other emotions for him. He is just explaining a very funny encounter that he has had. Next, introspective. So considering one's own internal state of feelings is introspecting. And again, this is very rare. There is a very less chance or very little chance that this particular tone would be a part of any of your passages that come in your exams. Next is incendiary, causing strong feelings. So basically, they are meant to incite people in a negative or positive direction. Although the difference between incendiary and some other tone is that the author wants you to have or portray very strong feelings, and he does that through speeches. Moving forward, laudatory. So it is praising or applauding someone, and it is very rational in nature. Whenever I have written the word rational in nature, it means that the author is giving you various facts and figures to prove his point. So for example, if there is a passage in which the author is praising a person, then he will be stating examples. For example, you could say whatever that person has done. For example, if there's a passage, paragraph on life of Mahatma Gandhi, then probably he would be giving you examples of what all he achieved in his entire life and what all good he did for the society in general. Next, motivating. So inciting in a good way. Again, it would be rational in nature, so using examples and not just speeches, he is motivating or inciting people in a good way. So incendiary and motivating have only one major difference, and that is that in incendiary, people will be asked or incited in either positive or negative way, but using only speeches. However, under motivating, again, people will be incited in a good way, particularly good, and the author will mention various facts and figures to be able to do that. That is extremely rational in nature. Next, obsequious. Now, obsequious is flattering by being over obedient. So, for example, there's a passage about, say, one particular kingdom that existed few ages ago. Then probably you could tell about this one particular courtsman who was listening to every single thing that the king was saying without even believing or thinking that whatever the king is saying is actually making any kind of sense or not. And that is when you're flattering the king by being extremely obedient. And again, this particular tone is very rare, so there's very less chance that it would appear in your exams. Pedestrian. So lacking vitality or imagination. Now basically you're just mentioning commonplace things and ideas. There is no special innovation in the passage. So if I say that I'm mentioning or writing a paragraph about a person's day-to-day life, then that could be pedestrian in nature. Next, populist. Pertaining to the characteristics of common people or the working class. Now again, this is supporting the common belief of the people. The author is supporting what the society believes at large, and he is not condemning, he is not doing anything else, he is not even being analytical about it. He's just quoting simple plain that this is the belief of the society and this is what I exactly believe in. Moving ahead. Provocative. So provocative, again, causing strong feelings. So this is synonymous to incendiary. Moving ahead. Romantic. So romantic is something that is very fanciful, unrealistic, or extravagant. Now, for example, just think about any Karan Johar movie. Now that is typical Bollywood romance, right? So things like that may not really happen in real life. So whenever something is written that has been too unrealistic to believe, in that case, the tone would be romantic. Next, sarcastic. So harsh or taunting. So the author is stating a negative opinion about something in a very taunting way. Now, for example, he will pass very cutting edge remarks about it, all right? Something very sharp that could hurt a person, but he is being very, trying to show or have a sense of humor about it. Although you could say he's using irony to express his views. Next, satirical, ironical or taunting. Now, satirical and sarcastic are almost the same. However, there is one little difference. In satirical, you are taunting, but your purpose is very constructive. You're not condemning someone. However, because of your taunts, you want the other person to understand their fault and probably improve on it. Next, speculative. So theoretical rather than practical is being speculating or is being speculative about it. So you could say if anything that is very hypothetical in nature or imaginary, in such a case, the tone would be speculative. Technical. Using technical terminology is when the tone is technical. Now basically you are talking about a subject matter that is peculiar to most people. In such a case, the tone would be very technical. So using very, very technical terms, what you basically say, technical jargon. Next, vitriolic. So vitriolic is full of anger or hatred. Again, this could also be the synonym for contemptuous. And again, if you receive a passage in which you ask the tone, then vitriolic and contemptuous won't be two different options. You will get either of them. Next, vituperative. Now, vituperative is very, very cruel and angry criticism about something. So, because it has so much of anger and hatred, I'm talking on both about vitriolic and vituperative, there's very less chance that you will receive these two tones in your exam. Next, didactic. To teach people a moral lesson. Now this is again very important tone. You might get it in your exam. Next is concern. Interested or having a connection or any kind of involvement. Say if you are connected to someone or if you're involved in a matter, then obviously you will be concerned about it. However, if you feel that something does not affect you, you won't show any kind of concern towards it, because of which you could say that you are showing a connection, and therefore this again could be one of the important themes of your entrance exams. Next is pessimistic. Now, whenever you are being very negative about something, that is being pessimistic. Basically, you're expecting the worst possible outcome. That means you are being pessimistic. So, example, if I say that during the COVID-19 crisis, the entire world would just vanish because every single person and animal and plant would die. Now, that is being very pessimistic about something. So, that's it. These were the tones that we had to discuss. Now I'm moving forward to the assignment.